on then to the study sessions. And the first item on the study session is fire department.
So we have a class that we hosted 2 years ago now. We weren't able to do it last year, but we share the cost with Hutchison on an extrication class, if you guys remember that. This year we would like to do the same thing, but we would like to split it with Hutchison and Newton, as well as possibly Salina. Salina has not confirmed yet. But they, at the current standing, it would be between the city of Hutchison and the city of Newton. And the class would be for an extrication course. It's a 2-day course, and they bring in instructors that are highly world-renowned guys that teach at FDIC every year as well. And they're bringing tactics to the area that will help us with the newer cars and newer tactics of extricating victims from cars. So this class we're trying to book it before they're booked out before the end of the year. And it would be for $2,500. Now that if Salina gets in, it would lower that cost, obviously. So, but right now it's setting at $2,500.
Okay, so that means that the overall cost is 7,500.
Yeah, so it's $130 per student. So it's based off of how many you're sending.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
have to we have to hit a certain threshold for instructors. So if we hit a certain amount of students, they have to have X amount of instructors for that.
Okay.
And this is going to be at the CHS facility?
It will be, yep.
Is it for extrication from not only cars, but other things as well?
So it'll be heavy trucks too, things that they use out of CHS and some of our industries as well.
Yeah.
So cranes and
Okay.
some of that heavier equipment will be associated with this and
Okay.
have to lift and push those parts with our tools.
But it's not like a confined area rescue and stuff
No,
like that?
that's actually in the spring. We're doing that in the spring.
Okay,
with
that's what I
Roku.
was thinking. We did that at one time anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Our
Yeah.
class in trench rescue will be in the spring.
Mhm.
This is, we're looking at the fall.
Okay, you'll bring it next week?
Okay. The next item is we need to purchase 80 pairs of Scott APR filters for the COVID-19 response. We burn 4 to 6 pairs a day. Our inventory is getting a little bit lower, and we're helping out PD with this one as well. So we're going to take the ones that they had, and then that will replenish our stock, and then we're going to replace them with some CSCN qualified ones for P100 filters. So that better suits their purposes and helps us as well. So right now, though, we are still burning 4 to 6 pairs a day, which is it's pretty persistent with that. So it'd be $2,386.40.
Does this need approved today after recess?
I would, if we can move on that, it would be better to get
Okay.
it in.
All right, third item.
The last item we have 2 vehicles. They were supposed to be replaced in last year's capital improvements, and we put those off. The first one's a 2008 Chevy Silverado with 118,000 miles on it, and the other one's a 2016 Explorer. It only has 39,000 miles. We talked about this in one of the retreats. Operationally, it's fine. It has no ventilation system in it. And if we put one in it, it's costly, but it also would consume the whole back end of the vehicle, rendering the back seats useless as well as the trunk area of the vehicle. So we wouldn't be able to do anything but get the gear in that portion. We wouldn't be able to haul people and take them to classes and stuff. So it's not conducive to what we're using it for. So the hospital was inquiring about that vehicle, and we spoke about that and getting it for we went out to see what the traded-in value would be. It was $15,000. So the hospital was willing to meet that, and then they have a Suburban they're going to give us and trade with that. The Suburban is valued at $2,000 trade-in. So that was something that it's helping the hospital out with that and getting them a new vehicle and helping us in getting that vehicle. out of our inventory. So we are very dependent on trailers and moving equipment for emergencies and support apparatus on emergencies. I didn't have all the pictures available for you guys, but I can if you would like. We have 3 trailers, and local industry has multiple mutual aid trailers we have foam, pumps, lighting, and then we have firefighting equipment as well. So when we have an incident, either out west or in the refinery or anywhere that we have large industries, we can haul that equipment from place to place. It takes a bigger vehicle to move it. So we looked at some of this stuff with KHP, the DOT inspector, to make sure that what we were buying is suitable for those purposes, and that we weren't going to overwhelm that truck or overwhelm the brakes and mechanical on that truck. So we came up with the 2 trucks that we have to haul a certain equipment. We went out and we requested 3 quotes. We received back 2. And they were pretty consistent with the quotes, so that's good. And the highest trade-in values went to Midway Motors. So the 2021 F-250 was $51,872, and that's got all the equipment necessary for operations. And then the 2021 F-350 was $51,007, and that as well has all the equipment to make it operational. So that's what we want to do, is move on those 2 apparatus.
Okay, is this within the budget?
Yeah, and
Any comment from Janetta?
Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Mayor. For the fire equipment budget out of the equipment fund, we had to replace the Chevy Silverado at $55,000. And then as TJ indicated at the fall retreat, it was discussed to purchase a Ford Explorer, of which we didn't know the cost, but we did have it marked in the budget. And after we do the budgeted transfers to make up for last year's, which we didn't make due to the target budget, as well as this, they'll have adequate cash and budget authority.
Okay, do you need to get this in?
So yeah, we do need to get this in. That was the other thing I was going to add is they're shutting down 2021 and they're going to retool and then go back for 2022 or I'm sorry, 2021 vehicles are shutting down and then 2022 vehicles are coming on over the summer. So if we wait for later in the year, we might have to run into an encumbrance with the vehicles if we order 2022.
We'll bring it back after recess so that you can place the order and we can get in line.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Wayne Burns, Public Lands Facilities.
Staff is requesting authorization for the annual purchase of mulch for the golf course, Parks Department, and Cemetery from Garden Wise Distributors in Wichita at a cost of $5.06 per bag compared to last year's $5.16. Just a footnote, after the 28th of February, they will go up 10 cents a bag, so it'll be the same price as last year. That's for 11 tons.
Bring it.
Do you need to put this order in or do you?
You need that right away, Wayne?
We can bring it back next week.
Okay, bring it back next week.
week.
Good.
Thank you, Wayne. CVB, Joni Ringer.
I just have one item I'd like to bring next week. It's a $750 visitor attraction grant for McPherson High School for the 15th annual McPherson Girls Soccer Invitational to be held March 29th, 30th, and 1st here in McPherson. It was approved by the board on January 13th.
Bring it next week. Okay. Public Works is already there.
First item I have are sonic walls for both the street department and wastewater. The support and services have expired for the firewalls at both places. The street department firewall has been marked end of life, so we're unable to purchase renewal of support and service on that device. The wastewater firewall can have support and service renewed. However, the price to renew the support and service is very high. The firewalls are very important to our operations. They are in place to keep our computers and networks safe from internet hackers. They also are needed to keep the security gate controllers to the server secure. They are vital to provide phone service at both locations. Lee is recommending we replace both. He received a quote in the amount of $809 each for a 3-year subscription from Reach Solutions. Go ahead.
Bring it next week then?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
just publicly announced it's susceptible to breach, you may want to do that.
Okay,
Fine,
because we,
fine,
Yeah.
we made it public?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay.
let's do it now then.
Next, stormwater utility. 5 of the 6 flumes flowing into the Oxford Point ditch have experienced severe erosion problems. Each year, we have a limited window to make the repairs. The ditch carries irrigation water after the growing season starts until late fall, making it next to impossible to dig out and install additional concrete and erosion control matting. Once the ground freezes hard, it makes it difficult to place concrete and backfill. This winter's been unseasonably dry and warm, and we are taking the opportunity to widen the flumes and install erosion mat around 4 of the last control around 4 of the last flumes needing repairs. I've attached a picture of one of the flumes repaired last year, as well as a picture of the surrounding erosion of the flumes. The erosion is very typical around all 5 flumes, and we put together an estimate for materials to repair the remaining eroded 4 flumes in the amount of $4,243.50. This estimate does not include the erosion control mat on hand purchased a few years ago.
Well, I think you're probably done for the year there, or at least
Probably.
for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, we have out of the wastewater treatment facility, emergency replacement of the heliosieve spiral shaft from Donlinger Construction. As you are aware, the second heliosieve spiral shaft at the wastewater treatment facility headworks broke. We were able to weld the first one in place as a temporary fix. The temporary fix is still functioning properly, and we had the replacement spiral shaft on hand ready to install. After the second spiral shaft broke, the wastewater treatment facility was in a very vulnerable position, so we asked Donlinger Construction to help with the repairs. The repair went well, and we now have both heliosieve screens in use. Due to the gravity of the situation, we didn't have time to get bids or an easy way to estimate the cost of the work. Donlinger Construction and the wastewater treatment facility employees did a great job and completed the work in a short amount of time. We received an invoice from Donlinger Construction in the amount of $22,392.76 to complete the work.
I'd say for the number of people that they had out there and the hours that they put in, that $22,000 is very reasonable. Say, bring it next week.
We
Can we-
do have the invoice. We may want to
Can-
bring that one forward.
Okay, want to bring it back?
Next is Earl Street Main Repair Sanitary Sewer District 007A. We have repeated complaints about the community sewer along Earl Street between Grimes and Elm. During the investigation of the community sewer issue, a section of main was found to be egg-shaped near collapse. The sewer's been in place since the 30s and was installed without an easement. We now have obtained the required easements and are ready to proceed with the repairs. We'll hire Stevens Contractors to complete the work and are waiting for their estimate. He was unable to get that to me last week, but I assured he'd get it to me first thing this week. I put an estimate together for about $25,000 for the sewer main. We got 2 quotes on the fencing. The lowest was $2,300. from Monroe Fencing. I've estimated the additional surveying at $2,000. Seeding and erosion control to be performed in-house by the street department. I've estimated that as at $1,000. And then sprinkler repair, dryer irrigation, does the work for the one homeowner, so we ask them for a price on that. Total estimated cost $31,300. I'd like to bring that next week after, and I'll adjust the Stevens quote. I'd like to bring it directly to commission, assuming that the Stevens quote comes in that ballpark.
Yes,
Okay,
do it. Okay, the next thing is Ferguson Development. This is for the 6.24, I think, acres just east of Pizza Hut. We have been working on this for now, I think, about a year and a half. And we got down to a point where we were close, but still not together on this. And so the last several months have been with their attorney and city attorney going back and forth more on legal issues than on the substance. So I'd like to call on the city attorney to go over the sixth version of the development agreement.
Oh, contracts are fun. This is better than a novel. So again, this is the 6 acres just east of Pizza Hut. It's currently taxed as ag ground, so it's not a significant source of revenue for the city. And as far as I am aware of, it has not attracted significant other interest for development. So it's not like we have a horse race or a lot of push on it. The hotel development that we're looking at right now is a $12 to $13 million project. It will include 3 principal parts: a hotel with 92 room extended stay hotel in it, 1 pad site that would be a sit-down restaurant, and a second pad site that would either be a restaurant or a retail space, depending upon how they can develop that. So we've been working on what kind, if we're going to offer an incentive package on behalf of the city, and I'll go over that. And this is like any negotiations of a contract. You get some things, you don't get some things. But it's been a fairly complex deal that the city has been involved with. We've got a pandemic going on, which also makes for a layer of complexity that isn't there. And this is uncharted waters as far as the city goes. So we don't have 13 other projects that I can point back and say, this is how we've always done it. But we've gotten to the point now where it's going to be a policy decision for the city, whether you think you're getting more than you're giving up, and this is in the citizens' best interest. The timeline that we're looking at to develop this property out is the hotel has to be opened by June 1st of 2023. The first pad site has to be opened. So that's going to either be the sit-down restaurant or the retail space by June 1st of 2025. And then the second one, June 1st of 2026. So it would be phased in development. The incentives that we're looking at for the developer, the first one would be a CID. We have done CIDs before for hotels. It would apply only to the district itself, and it would be, in essence, an increase of a 2% sales tax for transactions done within that district. And we have existing city policy that we use that has been incorporated into the contract. The second type of incentives is industrial revenue bonds, or IRBs. There's really 2 things to consider on the IRB. 1, there's an exemption of sales tax, and 2, there is a waiver of, or there's an exemption for property tax, ad valorem tax. And then there's a sales tax exemption. The sales tax exemption would apply to all parts: hotel, retail pad 1, retail pad 2. For the ad valorem tax, so the property tax, the hotel would have 100% abatement for 2 years. And then for years 3 through years 10, it would be a 50% exemption. So they would pay half of their normal ad valorem tax. On pads 1 and pad 2, it would be a 50% exemption for ad valorem unless one of those pads went to retail. And if it's a retail, it does not qualify under state law for exemption. If it is a restaurant, it does. So it goes off the federal codes. So that's part of it. But then there's some incentives back to the city besides just the development itself. One is a pilot, so a payment in lieu of taxes. So although they have an exemption for tax, for ad valorem tax, they're going to pay to the city 50% of the city's portion of ad valorem taxes as a payment in lieu of taxes. Under state law, the school districts can't be exempted on ad valorem, so they're going to get their full share. The city's going to get a half a share on the hotel in years 3 through 10. So it's still 100% in the first 2 years when they're building the thing out and getting going, but 50% there. On pads 1 and 2, assuming again, well, on pads 1 and 2, they're going to be making a payment in lieu of taxes of 50%. So that's throughout the term of the deal, okay, the 10-year term. If they miss their timelines, so if they don't, yes, Ms. Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out here that all the deals we've done before on IRB, we have given 100% waiver for 10 years. On this one, we have worked hard and they have cooperated to only do it for 2 years, and then we're going to get half of this. And when you take the difference between agricultural land and what we're going to get in years 3 through 10, we're really, that's where the benefit is for the city.
You will, over the life of the project, clearly have more revenue into the city than if you leave it as ag ground. Guaranteed. That one's easy.
Right.
Enforcement has become more and more important in these development deals. Well, what if they don't do what they've promised to do, kind of a thing? And we have multiple enforcement mechanisms in there. The first one, if they miss their timelines that I laid out earlier, they just don't decide to build the hotel or the pad sites, 100% of the ad valorem comes back on. So we're at 100%. 2, if they miss their employment guaranteed numbers and they guaranteed 15 new jobs, it's a structured penalty. 90%, there's no penalty. 80 to 90%, 10%. You go down less than 50, it's 50% of the ad valorem taxes. So if they don't hire McPherson folks or for the McPherson jobs, then they lose some of their benefit. There is also a contingent pilot in there, and this one was a little strange to write, but we got it in there, that if it's not a sit-down restaurant as it's defined in the agreement, then they pay an extra 50% pilots. In other words, we're back there again. The last part that we've been doing quite a bit of work on is how to do the city frontage road. And we talked about that some last week, whether we could cut it into different parts and pieces. And it's an either or kind of construction here. The city is trying to get KDOT and other economic development incentives to be able to do a cost share to pay for this frontage road. That adds a party that's not around the table right now to negotiate. We're going to try to get what we can get. If we can't get it, then the frontage road gets added into the CID, and the CID would end up paying for extending that frontage road. So it's one of those, we hope to get the state to participate in this or other kind of development grants. If we can't, then we're going to roll it into the CID. It may, however, in the interim, mess up with some of the scheduling of some of the other work and things like that you want to do. And that's one of the things you want to consider. But that's the deal on the table that we have right now. When I'm negotiating, I always look to see when both sides are a little fussy, because if both sides are a little fussy, I know I'm somewhere in the middle. If one side is ecstatic, I know we've got an issue because somebody missed something. And I would say both sides are a little fussy at this stage. So any questions?
Jeff, what you mentioned early on in your presentation, the sales tax exemption,
Yes.
how long is that for?
That's for the initial construction of the hotel. So it's not going to be if I have sales tax and I buy something at the retail pad, there's no sales tax on it.
Okay,
This is for the developer to build it without paying sales tax on the
okay,
materials.
gotcha, thank you.
Anybody, any other questions?
I don't-
Okay, what we would like to bring this back after recess so that we can make a more of an official move to try to bring this in the next week or the week after to do there's a number of other steps that has to be taken once we can agree on the developer agreement that's in the city process. And
So
this
so
just
what do you want to bring back to commission then?
that we're going to present this to them as the agreement that we would agree to.
Okay.
Okay? They'll still have to do all that we need to do in terms of redevelopment meeting, planning commission,
Mhm.
everything like that.
Okay.
They do the normal process.
All right.
This is just really the master plan, and then we'll get down to the detail.
Okay.
Yeah, all city codes apply, all city processes apply. You'll see bond attorneys running all over. It's all on their nickel for that piece of it too. So,
Okay. Good
Okay?
enough.
All right. We'll bring it back afterwards, so, okay. We can move to administration.
I'm going to defer to Janetta on GeoBond 139. You're there, Sumi.
Okay. Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Mayor. GeoBond Series 139 from 2018 permanently financed the Grimes Anna paving and drainage project, the Hardup Elizabeth paving and drainage project, and the Hulse area drainage project. And as you're aware, all of these projects have been completed. Upon completion of the GeoBond projects, we reconcile the bond proceeds to the total cost of the projects. And attached, you will find the details of this reconciliation. Pull that up. And I'll walk through this with you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me, because it does get a little confusing. That's why I put the summary in the body of the board docs. But as you can see out here to the left, all of the projects that I had just mentioned. And in this first column are the GeoBond Series 139. This is the total amount of the proceeds that were received back in 2018 and how they were distributed among each of the projects. And I do want to point out that this was just based off of estimates on how those project costs were going to fall among each of the projects. And throughout the project, then there came some wastewater portions of these projects. And as you can see, for the Hardup Elizabeth and the Hulse area, we transferred money from the wastewater fund into the CIP fund to pay those portions, those sewer portions of those projects. And then there was a small amount of other revenues that came in to support the projects. So here in green are the total amount of revenues for each portion of the different projects. So the total revenues are $10,320,366.97. Now we look at the expense side of each one of those projects. And this is the amount of expenses that were paid out of CIP for each one of those projects. And then in the Grimes Anna paving and the Hardup Elizabeth, instead of transferring money like we did for the Hulse area and the Hardup Elizabeth from wastewater, for these sewer portion of those projects, those were paid directly out of the wastewater fund 17. So there was $483,410.15 that were paid directly out of fund 15. So the final cost of these projects totaled $9,614,784. And so if you take the amount of the proceeds less the projects, you will see that there are some remaining proceeds from that Series 139 GO bond. And that totals $705,666.13. And so what we're proposing today to the commission, and we have got advice from Gilmore Bell of the bond attorneys that oversaw the GO Bond 139, that based off of the resolution 18-17, all of these costs, as well as design costs that were not included in these total costs over here, can be reimbursed from the remaining bond proceeds, because the resolution and the bond documents included as such. So I have identified for each project which fund paid those design costs. And as you can see, Fund 26, which is Consolidated Streets and Highway Fund, paid the design of the paving portion of the Grimes-Anna. And it also paid the paving portion of the Hardup Elizabeth, a little over $331,000. And then Fund 44, which is the Stormwater Utility Fund, paid the design costs for the drainage portion of the Grimes-Anna and the drainage portion of the Hardup Elizabeth, as well as the Holtz area. And then there was a wastewater design portion that was paid by Fund 17 for the Holtz area. So the total design costs are $749,556.66, which exceeds the amount of the bond proceeds left. And as you can see to the column to the far right, this is the remaining proceeds after the design would be reimbursed if the commission so chooses. So it's short $43,890.53. So the other request today is to use CIP funds, which as of right now, we're a little over 1.8 million in the CIP fund to help reimburse these funds for the design costs. Are there any questions, comments?
As a comment,
Okay.
I think it's worked out fairly good, and I think it would be a correct move to use CIP funds to cover the small portion that is short bond proceeds.
Okay, perfect.
So
Perfect.
do you want us to take action on that today, or we bring it next week?
We can bring it. We actually, if the commission wants to take action, but according to the bond council, we don't have to take action. But I think it's probably good to have it recorded somewhere. So I'll just put it in next week's
Okay. All right.
agenda.
Sounds good, Janetta.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have a request for waiver of fees from Mansky and Associates.
If you remember, several weeks back, we heard a request from Mansky and Associates to get a letter of support and also a letter confirming accessibility to utilities. We did receive a call or email last week requesting that they also, you remember, we did discuss a waiver of fees for another low-income housing tax credit project earlier, probably earlier in the month. And Mansky and Associates has also requested a waiver of a portion of fees equal or up to $20,000, which is the minimum requirement for low-income housing tax credits projects submitted for full credit for community participation. As I mentioned, this is another senior low-income housing tax credit project. This one, if you remember, is going to be south of Barnstormers Westfield Edition. And that would be the proposed location for this particular one. Commission should discuss any potential willingness to make a commitment to this fee waiver. And as I mentioned, they specifically requested fee waivers in areas of building permits, tap connection fees, erosion control permits. I will say the likelihood that will be funded for both of these projects is fairly slim. We'll be lucky if we get one of them funded based upon the amount of tax credits that the state has. So if you were to grant to both, it probably, the likelihood is you won't be issuing them in any one given year anyways. But I will say that, the only difference between this project and the other one is that there's a very high likelihood that these will be tax exempt once they're up and running, because they will be run by the McPherson Housing Coalition. And I'm sure they will apply for that. There is precedent. We have waived these fees before for ones that, a good example is the Disability Sports of Great Plains, who just put in for a property tax abatement on their properties, and we waive fees for them as well. So the precedent is we've really done this for low-income housing tax credit projects across McPherson, because it's pretty critical that we get a lot of those built, and whether they're seniors, disability supported, or family units. It is a pretty critical nature that we get these approved and get additional housing added to McPherson in this level.
I think that their request is pretty reasonable, up to 20,000. It's about a little less than a third of what the other would need it on a for-profit basis. And that sort of helps, at least my thinking, in that if they're tax exempt, in the end, we haven't given that much, and we only give it if they are approved for low-income housing tax credit. So is this something that we need to, we can bring next week?
Well, we didn't take action on the other one either, so I think we kind of discussed it, and I would notify them that they can put into their application up to the 20,000, and then when that time comes, if you'll remember, there's two steps to this. They put in their initial application, and if they either make it to the next round or not. And so they'll do this initial review. They'll come out and look at all the properties, and then they'll make a decision who goes to that next level. And we didn't take any action on the other one because we kind of want to see what we would do is we'd notify them that we will fund up to the 20,000, but until it's officially approved, we wouldn't necessarily bring that if that's how you want to handle this one.
So how many units are we talking about here on the one you just went through?
I was afraid you'd ask me that.
Maybe
I didn't bring the sheet either.
I think it was very similar to the other one, and I think it was like 18, it might be 18 total units, 18 to 20 total units, I think. They're duplexes, so there'll be duplexes along the south side of, what's the name? What'd you say? Yeah, Paradise Lane, where the street actually doesn't exist currently, so they would have to build the street through.
So we would gain a street, some infrastructure where we don't go that far south right now. And then there is a street, and I don't know if that's going to be a different version of Paradise, I hope not, that goes around behind that, that has future room for more units there. That will all butt up against the tree line that separates that property from the Jehovah's Witness Church. So all in total, they have room to expand the number of the duplexes, but the first ones will be right along the main street if they put that street in. And so there's, if I remember right, 9 duplex units, 2 units, so that'd be 18, but I didn't bring that sheet with me.
It's 24 units, so
24
there's
units.
12, so 12
12, yeah.
duplexes.
12 buildings, basically.
12 buildings,
Mhm.
but 24 units.
Mhm.
I went lowball. Okay.
So does that have to be rezoned or anything? Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Right.
I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, so
I'm with you.
Strawn rezone everything for single-family houses
Everything
except for
but
this
that.
part.
That's right. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do we have the tools or the mechanism to know when we've exceeded the 20,000 and they need to start paying?
Yeah,
Yes.
we will have a process where we keep track.
And I don't know, maybe if Public Works has a preference, if we take it out of one that will cover up to the 20,000, will cover the 20,000. Whether we take it out of tap fees, connection fees, or we just have to calculate once it would be approved and figure out what's the easiest way to do that. So we're not trying to take it out of each individual account, I would assume.
Right now, the only thing we're doing is say we'd be willing for them to put this in their application.
Okay.
So, unless there's opposition, you can contact them to tell them to put that in the application. And then once, if they get approved, they got turned down last time.
Mhm.
If they get approved, then we will work out the detail that will be on record.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Well, I will notify him.
All right. Okay, anything else from study session standpoint? Okay, study sessions are over.